Our next speaker this morning is Amelia Booth from Mort Co. She's the General Manager, People, Culture and Safety. Amelia is focused on providing support and solutions to ensure the business has the right people in place to achieve their fast-paced growth, while ensuring all employees operate within safe working environments. This is achieved through leading a team of dedicated human resources and safety professionals and setting the strategic direction for these functions and working collaboratively with the Mort Co business. So Amelia is here today to discuss the ag industry in general and give us a bit more information about what Mort Co is up to. So please welcome Amelia.
Thanks, Lauren, appreciate it. And good morning. Thank you for welcoming me along this morning to speak about all things agriculture. Lauren's given me a bit of an introduction there, but my name is Amelia Booth and I started with Mort Co about 18 months ago in a newly formed role that is focused on supporting our business through what has been and will continue to be a really rapid growth period. So with that comes the challenges of the right people in the right roles, and in this market it's the right number of resources in the right roles is our biggest challenge. So Mort Co is Australia's largest privately owned feedlot and cattle company, and we also focus on the management and marketing of cattle within our company and the export of premium beef back to Australian markets and beyond. We operate in a fully verticated supply chain, so the innovation and I guess the pace in which the company is looking to adopt new technologies, new ways of working within our business is what hopefully positions me well to be able to give you some good insights in terms of the workforce challenges that the ag industry is facing, because we do span across all parts of the supply chain. So in prepping for today, Lauren gave me a really clear brief to try to paint a picture of what it's like to work within the agricultural industry. So I thought, what better way to do that than with some pictures, but also the sound. So I've just got a short video that hopefully technology is on my side and will play.
All right, are we ready?
So here I am, Mort Co girl.
We get in and get it done, move on. That's probably the best way to put it.
So you can see there in a short 1-minute video the breadth of roles and opportunities that exist within ag. So we're going to have a quick look at those as I navigate technology again.
All right.
Okay, so it's just that powerful start, isn't it? Gets your attention. So ag is an industry that's got an incredible number of opportunities, and as I've mentioned, within that short video you can see that there is a really big breadth of roles that we employ within our company at Mort Co, but that are also reflective of the industry more broadly. So we're a really important source of jobs for rural, regional and remote Queensland and Australia, but if we look at Queensland alone, the industry employs over 70,000 people, or 2.8% of the Queensland workforce, and we have more than 365,000 jobs across the full supply chain. So if we take a closer look at the supply chain from a Mort Co perspective, you can see a better appreciation of the wider range of opportunities that we have. So we work with our suppliers and producers in the support of their livestock before they even come into our feedlots. So our livestock teams support those relationships with those producers and ensuring that the health and the supply and the quality of that cattle coming through is secured right from the beginning of that journey. We then see those cattle come through to our feedlots, and at present we've got 3 feedlots throughout Queensland that see over 100,000 head of cattle on feed at any given time. So that catchment area for us is currently Inglewood, Dalby and Millmerran, so in the Darling Downs and extended region. And we've got plans to extend our operations up into central Queensland at Gogango near Rockhampton. So with that will come increased capacity for even more feed to be on head. So the number of people that actually support into those roles with the growing capacity that we have is putting a lot of pressure and demand on our industry. We then feed that cattle with produce that's grown at our own farm in Mort Co, and we also source that from other providers within the region. Our crops are actually nourished, so our farms and our crops are nourished by organic pelleted fertiliser that we produce on site at Grassdale, which is part of our complementary business and part of that broader supply chain that we operate in. So the grain that we take from our farms is then processed in our mills and on site, and so we have mills on site that produce the right amount of feed for 100,000 cattle across all of our operations, so you can appreciate the scale and complexity that comes with that. The feed that goes through to our cattle and into their bunks is scientifically formulated by our own in-house team of R&D people to make sure that we are always working in the most innovative way to produce that feed for them. That livestock's then carried by our transport company and our drivers, and that fleet of vehicles is serviced by our own in-house maintenance and workshop people. It's then moved on to our processing partners, and this is the only part of the supply chain that we don't have a first-hand play in, which I'm grateful for from a safety perspective. So we move them onto our processors. It's at that point that our teams work with those processors to repackage and rebrand that into our own branded beef that is then exported, as I've mentioned, domestically and internationally. And it is award-winning for those who have not been following our journey in that. So all of those operations are then supported by our sales and marketing team, as well as a strong team of professionals back in our Toowoomba office. So you can see from here, it is an incredibly complex web. It takes a very diverse and capable workforce. We've covered things from livestock to crop farming. We've got procurement, plant operators, labourers, truck drivers, and professional services across the full spectrum. So as a business who continually evolve and embrace the latest in agricultural innovation, I do feel quite proud and quite strongly that Mort Co are well positioned to be able to speak to the workforce needs, particularly as our operations become larger and more complex and more reliant on new technology, data and practices. So we know that the skills that are required to service agriculture and agribusinesses are changing, and challenges will continue to meet us at our doorstep. So I'm going to take a deeper dive into the range of career opportunities that are available within agriculture, and also just to give a little bit of a deeper perspective around what are the sorts of skills that see people in our industry successful. So the breadth of skills and occupations that we have in our industry range from entry-level positions, and that's on farms, right through to strategic management in our head office, and this is reflective of the broader industry as well. We've got mum and dad businesses with farms who are operating on a far smaller scale, and then we've got large state-based and national and international companies that are working into our industry. We need people that are on the ground operators and general all-rounders, and we need specialised scientists in laboratories. We've got trade qualified technicians right through to software developers to actually come up with the tools and resources that people need to be able to be managing the feed in our feedlots and on our sites. So broadly speaking, the skills that we see that people successful, I guess, in careers within agriculture in relation to learning agility, information literacy, autonomy and adaptability. So that's the first skill that we see people successful. And this is particularly true when we're looking at our operational areas in terms of livestock health, livestock movements, general hands in farming and feeding and milling. So these people are on the ground, salt of the earth people that are working very autonomously in forever changing landscapes. They're subject to the environment, the conditions. Doesn't matter if it's dark and cold or hot and sunny, they're out there and they're needing to get their job done to feed the cattle. So what we know sees people successful in those entry level isn't about the technical skills, and I think we've touched on that a little bit this morning already in terms of what are we actually looking for in people when we bring them into our industry, and it's people with a passion for the industry, it's people with the ability to think and work autonomously. We can teach them the rest. What we also see is that people with managerial and leadership skills, as we grow in size and complexity, the demand on this type of skill within our industry increases. So this is particularly relevant within agriculture, as we do have an ageing workforce, and people who have been through the industry and have a great depth of experience and skill are moving towards retirement. So we look for people with transferable skill sets from other industries. I stand in front of you as one of those people. I've never had anything to do with agriculture, nor did I understand the absolute beauty of the industry in terms of what it's like to work within it until I joined. So we're looking for people to take their skills and experiences from other industries and bring them in. We also look for people with strong financial and business acumen. So this is very relevant when we start to get into our business services. Our industry is subject to a lot of environmental changes, legislative changes, compliance, regulation, and as we broaden the complexity of our operations, and our competitors do as well, there's a much greater reliance on having people in our industry that can help tackle those challenges. And last but certainly not least, and one of the key challenges that we're going to work through today, is attracting people into our industry that have a strong science, technology and maths background. So you would have seen in the video and through the supply chain, there is an awful lot of science that underpins what we do in our industry. And one thing that I'm really keen to talk through today is around tackling that perception within agriculture of what it means to work within ag, that it's not a low-skilled, hands-on industry. We need highly skilled, highly professional people to be able to make sure that we meet the animal health requirements, that we've got the right nutrition in place, and that's before we even begin to look at the R&D and new product development that's in our organic fertiliser. So while we definitely still need those traditional and practical skills within our industry, and we're always going to need those salt of the earth hands-on people, it is predicted that the future skills within our industry will see an increase in demand on technology and data. So it brings me to the challenges, because despite having incredible opportunities available within our industry, for several years we have been faced with challenges in making sure that we have the workforce that we need. So if I put this in perspective from Mort Co alone, we're a workforce of 280 people, and we carry a vacancy rate of a minimum 70 positions at any given time. So that means our forecasted workforce should actually be more up around the 350s, 360s, and at any given time we've got 28.5% of our workforce vacant. Just to balance that out, it is because we are extending our operations, we're bringing on new products, we're bringing on new ways of working, and we're moving into different shift patterns. But to give you a perspective of how hard the ag industry is being hit, that means that we can't produce and operate to capacity because we simply don't have the skills and resources that we need. So in terms of having a look at some of those challenges, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's what's focused from a workforce perspective. It seems to be that there's a lot of people trading on an outdated perception of what it means to work in our industry. So when it comes to working in ag, what we do know is that a number of people believe that the career opportunities are very much more in those lower to no skilled positions, and that they're very hands-on labouring type roles. So in terms of challenging that, I do believe it takes a hell of a lot of promotion and responsiveness and collective effort from all of the providers, and from education to government to workers to industry, you name it, to actually be challenging and helping position this industry as an employer of choice. So each of you in the room have an opportunity to help us overcome that barrier, so that will be my call to action at the end of this in terms of how can we work together to overcome that. So there's your notice in terms of what I want to talk about more in a moment. So in terms of, in addition to that, the workforce demand, I've covered it a little bit already. We are seeing a really big shift in the skills that we need within the industry. We're also then facing up against a really tight labour market, and we're also having to tap into transferable skills from other industries. So it's resulting in incredibly tight and incredibly competitive labour market. Which I know Annette spoke before, we're not unique and we're not special in that challenge. When it comes to workforce retention, again, not unique or special in this, in that I think everyone in the room understands the challenges of being able to recruit and retain to regional and remote areas. If we then overlay that with the housing crisis that we're facing at the moment, it becomes a near impossible task unless we really look to do things differently. So it is a barrier for us. For our competitors, it also becomes an increasing barrier when they're looking for temporary accommodation for seasonal workers. So Mort Co are privileged in the fact that we're able to have permanent staff, and we don't have the seasonality that some of our competitors are subject to, but it's a really big barrier for those, particularly in horticulture, that are looking to get people in reflective of their seasons and their harvest. So encouraging the younger generation to stay in the region is also a challenge for us. and it does become increasingly difficult, as I said, in terms of the housing market at the moment. The last one there is workforce skilling, which I've spoken a little bit to already in terms of the changing environment and impacts on our industry. It really is requiring us to adopt a new way of working and to adopt new skills into our industry. If we look at it from a feed of the future perspective, as I've mentioned, we're looking to expand operations up into central Queensland, and we know that that's going to put further pressure on an already declining pool of skills in terms of livestock health and movements. So we're looking for what is the data, what is the technology, what is the research we need to put in to automate some of those roles, so we have less reliance on those skills. That then creates challenges. We need people with AI skills, data, robotics, all of those. So it's sort of you kind of create one challenge and move it into another area. So these projected demands do require us to think really differently, and it does also require a lot of help and support. You'll see the final one that I've got mentioned up there is in terms of agriculture and schools and universities. What we know as an employer in this industry is that ag doesn't have the robustness of representation in all of the schools that will see us benefit as an industry. So there's a really great opportunity for us to be able to look at that differently. And we also know that there's a great opportunity to look for how we can give back for teachers into this industry as well. So the attraction of STEM teachers is a challenge for everyone in first instance, but then encouraging them into ag just makes that a little bit more complex. So with all of these challenges that I've listed off, so with every challenge comes opportunity. So we've taken an opportunity to work through what that looks like. Now, I by no means profess to have the answer to this question. All I can speak to is what are we doing at Mort Co to try to tackle some of these challenges and ensure that we have the workforce that we need. So we are regularly pursuing solutions to better skill, attract and retain workers into our business, because we want to attract the brightest and the best. And that's not just to Mort Co, that's for our whole industry. We really do want to help support agriculture be positioned as an industry of choice, and it's a status that I don't believe can be achieved in isolation. So what we're doing around that is making sure that we continually work to forge stronger partnerships with our schools. So we need to ensure that school students, their parents and their carers are aware of careers and educational opportunities and pathways that exist within ag to facilitate better entry into our industry. This really starts to speak to the core of challenging those perceptions early and trying to increase participation rates into ag careers. So being able to highlight these opportunities really early on is what we see as a success and what we see as working well for us to be able to encourage students into the ag industry. But there's also an opportunity, I believe, to be able to reinvigorate the way that ag is being taught in the schools through immersion programs, challenging curriculum, actually looking to do partnerships in terms of placements and work experience quite differently. Other opportunities that we have exist very similarly in the space of working with the universities. So not dissimilar to the school experience, just at a different stage of their career. We offer graduate programs, industry placements and industry projects. And we partner with UniSQ here locally to make sure that we are ahead of the curve in terms of having input to their curriculum, partnering with them to provide opportunities for work experience, and again, really trying to ride on the coattails of giving them early exposure to that industry. Couldn't walk away from today without needing to talk about the diversification of our workforce. So agriculture is historically very reliant on seasonal and migrant workers, and it's something that post-COVID we're really still seeing the impacts that have been created as a result of the reduced mobility of that part of the workforce. So in terms of meeting both the current and future demands of the industry, we do need to continue to attract from culturally diverse backgrounds, and Mort Co in particular are doing this through the engagement of trade qualified visa candidates from countries such as Philippines, Indonesia and Zimbabwe, and we've also engaged to employ workers of the Pacific Islander scheme as well, so that we can actually help uplift, particularly in a lot of our lower skilled areas that we're looking to fill. Within our industry, there's a number of abattoirs and processors that are now at 100% reliance on palm scheme. So their workforce is 100% representative of Pacific Islanders. And then last but not least, in terms of career pathways, this is something that we focus heavily on in terms of ensuring people like yourself have a lot of clarity around what does it mean to work within the ag industry? How can you support and partner with us? What are the opportunities for school leavers and graduates to get into our industry? And it also allows us, in terms of working with our employee base, to make sure we can grow our own. So we've got really clear and tailored development programs in place that we hire for the will and we train for the skill. So we've got dedicated trainers in place within our businesses who work alongside embedding the right operational knowledge into people that have joined our business. We've got partnerships with Uni SQ to develop management and leadership capability, and again, that's about bringing people who are more junior in their career into senior positions more quickly and setting them up for success. And it's also making sure that we can then partner with the TAFEs, the schools and the universities to get their students work ready for us. So they're just a few quick snapshots. I spoke fast, I'm doing all right for time. I said I'm going to take the time, but then I get excited and do more. So I guess the key thing for me with all of these opportunities is they can't be achieved in isolation. So I think collaborative and regional approaches I've mentioned between the industry, between yourselves in this room, it's education providers and employment pathway providers, the government agencies that we have here. Collaboration between all of us is required to tackle this, not just for ag, but for the broader workforce challenges that we're facing in our region. So it's on this note, I'm going to wrap up and hand over for questions and discussion, because I'm really keen to begin the conversation around how we can work together to help solve these challenges for our industry.